a lot of effort into getting the right size one. What about that one? No, that's a bit too big. What about that frame? Oh. Why did you bring that in the kitchen?
Sean, what do you call extreme? Above and below what temperature?
Extreme temperatures?
Yes, above and below what temperatures?
It's mostly the dryness, Tarek. That's the real killer on larvae. They can handle temperatures reasonably well, but I mean, it's the dryness that's the biggest thing.
I mean, if it's a summer day and it's 85 degrees, that's their high temperature. They're 90. So it might be even on the cool side compared to what they are used to, right?
My kitchen is 72 degrees, and I graft very easily in that space and have no negative effect from that. I'm not there for a very long time. I have a warm cloth over it, so I'm trying to make sure that there is as minimal temperature fluctuation as possible, but still providing a comfortable environment for me to do it.
Like if it's 80 degrees, I think outside would be less dry than inside an air-conditioned room.
Yeah, the humidity outside will be higher, no doubt.
Yeah, so that would be better to be like in 85 degrees outside.
Whatever works for you.
No, I mean for the grafting conditions.
Yeah, it's not super critical. You just can't leave the larva in a condition where they start to dry out. Whatever that is in the current ambient conditions. Okay? So, nothing here really. There's that one in the center, but again, we've got a frame that's really weird here, right? We've got an egg there, possible candidate there. We've got something over here that's about ready to pupate. So,
now, is that jelly the middle one right there?
That's rolled jelly surrounding that. So that's a nice pool of rolled jelly. It's about just properly. It's a little old, but about the right size. So what are the attributes of a good graft? We talked about age, size. What do you want to do? You want to have a nice pool. So this is looking down into your JZBZ plastic cup, right? So there's a nice pool of royal jelly there. The larva is the proper age and is just about in the center. You haven't flipped the larva, you haven't exposed it to extreme temperatures, and you haven't allowed it to dry out. Those are textbook attributes of a good graft. So right now, it's just practice to get to that point.
So you're carrying your grafting bar back into where you're going. You cover that?
I cover that, yes. As I'm grafting, as I mentioned, I have my cell bar out.
Right, you got the damp
paper towel. I got the damp paper towel follow me along as I graft.
So you put one in
and
and
cover the same paper towel, I wrap it around, the same thing, pop it in my grafting bar frame, and then I walk out to the mating or the cell builder. And unwrap it and just drop it down in. Okay?
We'll have to talk about that when we get to the just hang tight.
So, any questions on the attributes of the good graft? I think we kind of covered this pretty well.
Hey, I noticed on the one side you got like the little spiracles, you know, in the, you can see it on the little seat. Does the other side have that?
No.
So that's how you know that you flipped it.
Yeah. Well, you should know very well if you flipped it or not. You should be in the cell, looking inside the cell and watching it either on the Chinese tool coming off the tip or in your JZBZ, you have to watch it come off. So you should know if it flips. And if you flip it, discard it. Just pull it up, put another one in there. Don't get married to the larva that's you just worked to put in place. Get rid of it. That's just not worth any effort.
I guess flipping back over is not an option.
Don't flip it back over. I mean, there's too much of a risk there, right? Yeah, there's just so many there available to you. A properly selected frame is going to have 300 properly aged larvae to choose from. So that should not be the determining factor. The determining factor should be you've walked away after you drop that larva in place thinking you've done as best a job as you can. You selected the right size and you made the transfer as well as you possibly could. Okay, so we've already kind of covered this. This is the mechanics of the Chinese tool. Notice that the plunger is retracted right now, so it's in its nominal position. So the cap is off the tongue. It's coming down like this. So it comes down in, it hits that cell, and then tries to make, it's not a 90 degree on a real cell like this. It's more contoured. So it's going to scoop down underneath the larva like that. Again, we're not touching that plunger. We retract the thing. Now the larva and the royal jelly is in place. And then we go to our cell cup, come in, get the tip of the little tongue here just about in the center of the cup, and then depress the plunger to move the entire load of royal jelly and larva off. Place it in the center of the cup. So that's the basic mechanism here by which you do it. It takes practice, but again, as Tom and Glenn said on the opening slide, just do it. Just play with it for a while. This is something that you could practice before the cell builder is ready. You can just practice on grafting.
Does the royal jelly come out completely like that?
Not totally, no. It won't be bone dry like that. Definitely not. It takes only just a little swath of the royal jelly.
And you'll still, even if you're using this Chinese tool, you'll still prepare the cell cup with a little bit?
I won't.
You wouldn't need to.
No, when you use the Chinese tool, you don't need to do any priming at all. Just push it in and push off the royal jelly right on into the bare cup. So that basically covers what I had to say on the grafting. I want to talk fairly briefly about a graftless technique. It's just for someone who has put in some effort and just can't do it, whether your hands are not as steady as they should be, or you can't see properly, or you just can't master that technique, don't let that stop you. You should not let grafting stop you from making queens. So there's techniques out there. This is called the Yenter method. It's a graftless system. I brought it in. Ruth also brought, hers is propping up the projector right now. They're very, very similar the two, so it's not super.
Switch that and pass over.
So Ruth brought in the Nico system. I brought in the Yenter system. They're similar, but the parts are not interchangeable.
Exactly.
So the Yenter system, there's various pieces. So you got to take a regular frame. It fits in a medium or a deep. I'm obviously using a deep. So it comes with lots of pieces and parts. Any kids play with Legos would probably right at home use one of these things. But there's essentially a grid here. It's like a regular cell grid, honeycomb basically. So on the back there's a little cover like this, and there's various little pieces. There's effectively two pieces to the Yenter system. One is where the queen is going to lay. It's a little itty bitty tiny cup. It's a little concave cup. You place it right in the back of the Yenter system. You fill the whole thing with these little things. So have some patience, plug them all in. There's over 100. Then once you've got them all filled in, you take the cover on the back and put it in place. And then you come around to this side and take that plastic honeycomb thing, place it in like that. And then you have the outer piece, another plastic cover, and there's like a queen excluder material here. So nurse bees can get in past this, but the queen can't get out. You put that over this. And now you have an area underneath here that you could put a queen in there if you want. And how do you do that? Well, there's a little plug right there. Open that up, and the queen can go in there. Push the, I just have this tie wrap here because the system is not usable if you lose that little plastic plug. So if I'm using it, I cut the tie wrap there.
And the queen doesn't want to go in there, you've got to put her in there.
You gotta put it in there.
Doesn't matter which one you use.
Yeah, so this is fairly obtrusive in terms
All right,
of,
Derek, what are you doing?
I'm sorry.
fairly obtrusive in terms of
I
the
see it.
handling of
You
the
see it?
queen. You gotta put the queen in here, so you trade off the
Right in front of
skills
you.
of
Right in
grafting
front.
for the
Ah,
ability
you
to
stepped on.
find the queen and put her in here. So, normally before you do that, this comes off and this goes inside your brood chamber. So you let the bees polish these cells, build up, you can see a little honeycombs built off the plastic here. So you get it ready for a queen. This is a couple days basically. Put this in the middle of the brood chamber a couple days, and then on the day you want to confine your queen, you pull this frame out, you put this cover on, you find your breeder queen, which is the same colony you had this frame in. Open that, pick up your queen. We all know how to do that by the end of the day today. You put the queen in there, you close it, and you put it in the colony. About 3 days later, you come back. Instead of letting the queen out, don't let the queen out. You come to the back side, open that thing, and start pulling these plugs out. Start looking, is there an egg there? If there's an egg there, you put it back in. You pull several of them and make sure there's eggs in every one. And at that point, you pull this off. The queen's still there, she walks around, walks out. Now you have all these eggs in there. You come back on day 4, the following day, depending on when you checked it, and then you pull as many of these plugs out as you want to make queens from. So then the queen, now we have a day-old larva, ideal larva. It's in a pool of royal jelly in the bottom of this plug. And there's another little gizmo piece here. It's now the cell cup. I take this plug, which has the larva, put the two pieces together. Now I have the larva in the bottom of the cell cup. And then I take that piece and put it in here like that. And now I have something that goes into a specialized cell bar. I brought it in, I'm just not sure where it is at the moment. It's like a regular cell bar. I'm not sure where it is, but you can imagine it hangs just like a plastic cup, and then this goes into your cell building.
So you could make 100, if there's 100 things,
You
you
can
have
make,
100.
yes, 100.
Okay, so mass production if you wanted to.
Yeah, or you can make 5.
Really make none because Queen doesn't like it, won't lay eggs.
And yeah, so yeah, I mean, I've kind of painted just the top level picture here. There's details, and some of these things don't work the first go.
Make 100, you gotta have 100 nukes put them in, right?
That's right, or 100 customers. So the problems can be the queen is reluctant to lay in this device. The queen wants to get out of this cage. Those are the biggest things that I've seen. The queen will be reluctant to lay in these little cell cups. That's why you leave these plug in place without the queen inside the frame inside the middle of the brood chamber for several days. They make it like they would any cell. So that makes it more likely that you're going to have success. I did one time lose a queen. She was so distraught about being inside that cage, she died. So yeah. That was really bad. But, so this, I don't want people to freak out about that last comment because most times it can work, and when it does work, I think it works exceptionally well. But there's lots of times when it doesn't work, as smoothly as you might want. She sometimes refuses to lay inside here. And you either just be patient, wait, keep checking, or you give up on that queen and choose another queen. Queens will lay in these things. It's just a matter of how much, I guess, pain you're willing to endure. Because every time you have to go in, you have to pull this out of the middle of a colony and inspect it. So there's a lot of hand-holding required for this. So most serious queen breeders don't use these. They learn how to graft. If they can't graft, they have hired help that can graft. Christine will graft for money. I'm joking. That was a joke. That was a joke.
Now, what's the white plastic cage in the bottom right picture?
These here?
Yeah.
Okay, those are cell protectors. So the idea is they go in a cell bar like that, and after the cell is capped, they put these little, they call them hair roller cages, basically. Yeah, that's the same basic thing as Ruth provided. And that is to protect the cell. And ideally, you don't have to protect the cell because what?
We're gonna take
There's
them
no
out.
virgin queen, there's no mated queen in your cell builder. We've gone to extreme measures to prevent that. So honestly, I've never used those things in my cell builder because it's just another thing I have to worry about messing around with. Now, if this is a more advanced topic, if, when I instrumentally inseminate queens, I have to allow them to emerge. I don't like letting queens emerge because then I have a bunch of virgin queens running around that to manage, but in the instrumental insemination process, you have to do that. So when I do that, I let queens emerge in the cages similar to that, in a queenless nuke that they can be cared for as soon as they come out of the cell. Because queens are very, very hungry when they first come out of that cell. They'll sometimes immediately pop right back in the cell and start eating the royal jelly because they emerge head down. They don't have immediate access to that royal jelly. They come out and go back in. And then nurse bees will be right on that cage feeding those queens. And that's actually one of the criteria I use for selecting my queens for instrumental insemination. I will pull a queen bank. And so I have a queen bank here. This thing, I have two different. This is one of my queen banks. I put that size, that style cup, or the JCBZ plastic cup. I'll let them emerge in these cages, and I put this right in a queenless nuke, and so the colony basically manages these virgin queens for me. And when I pull this out, this will be full of virgin queens in these cages. I'll be able to assess, hey, of these 15 queens that are there, they like this one, that one, this one, this one, this one, and so on. They've picked their favorites. So those are the ones I pick, because they told me which ones they like. And those are the ones that get inseminated. The other ones just get open-mated.
You see that based off of size?
I haven't tried to correlate that versus size. I believe it's a pheromone thing.
Okay.
Even the young queen will have some pheromone.
The more nurse bees then?
More nurse bees will be on that cage. They'll be feeding that queen like crazy, where some of them will almost be ignored. So, yeah.
You measure that good size, right?
Thorax size. Okay, so again, if you struggle with grafting, you can buy these. They have eBay knockoffs for $15. I've never used one. This is the one that cost $80. It worked for me. I don't use it every day. I don't even use it every season, honestly. Once I kind of mastered grafting, I've moved away from that. But if you're struggling with grafting, that's an option. There's also something called the Miller method. It's another non-grafting technique. This is something that most first queen rearing classes teach. You basically have an empty frame with a partial foundation in it. This is going to be wax foundation, not plastic foundation. You kind of get this zigzag cut in the foundation. You do that intentionally. You put that now cut frame in the middle of your brood chamber in your breeder colony. for about 5 to 7 days. Good nectar flow, plenty of food coming in is beneficial. And then you pull that frame out and you start looking on that frame, where are the appropriate larvae, appropriate age larvae, just like the same decision you'd make if you were going to be grafting. And then you cut again and you essentially take the knife and just nick the bottom of the cell that you want them to make a queen from. You basically just cut it a little bit. That's how I do it. You just cut it a little bit. So you kind of open the base of that cell for them. And then you put that in your cell builder. So basically what it will look like, it's an old picture I got online. This is kind of what they'll do. The queen cells hanging off there. And of course, now this is wax foundation. You can go in there, you can cut these out, and then plant the wax cells. It works, I've done it. So, that's all I had to offer on the grafting part.
Do you ever, I noticed that they were selling those cages that you could, if they're like a super seizure cell or a queen cell going, you could put that cage over it and actually let them develop the queens and then
Oh, yeah,
move the queens when you, when they,
yeah, pushing cage. It's, you can
Yeah.
fashion one out of just 1/8" wire cloth basically and push it right over
Yeah.
the cell. I've done that. But, I mean, this class we're kind of making our own queen, so we
Yeah.
don't generally have to do that. But you can push that cell protector thing and push over the cell.
So at day 14, when we transfer them,
Day 14.
we take those cups and we stick it into.
Yeah, we're coming to that next
Okay.
question. Any questions on grafting? Ruth, you have anything? You're kind of late, okay. Thanks for the heads up.